They told me Asia Wilson wasn't marketable, bro.
Do you practice this? Was this spur of the moment?
Is Juju Watkins better than Caitlin Clark? I feel like people have been saying that already.
I mean, there's the argument that she was the best point guard as a rookie last year.
I still think Arike is a better basketball player than Sabrina Ionescu is.
Napheesa Collier is unstoppable right now.
Maybe, just maybe, Napheesa Collier is breathing down her neck. Asia Wilson knows it too. It has been an ongoing conversation throughout the course of the season, and tonight I have my guy, Chaz Franklin, head of player development in Connecticut. And I'm going to just throw you on the fire right quick before we do the official intro. Is Asia Wilson still the best player in the world, Chaz, or has Napheesa Collier taken that from her? What do you think?
Well, Asia Wilson is a remarkable talent, generational talent, dominant force. Yeah. But what Napheesa Collier has been doing for the last 2-3 years has been nothing short of remarkable and unprecedented. She does it all summer. She does it unrivaled. She's a 3-level scorer. She's a tough cover in the post. Passes the ball, rebounds the ball at the elite level. Even better human being. So I'd have to give the nod to Napheesa today. I would say 1A and 1B. How about that? Is that okay?
Okay. 1A, 1B. I'll give it to you. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Protect Our Queens podcast, presented by Basketball Society. Normally, I have my guy, Martin Soares, with me tonight, but he is off doing other things. But I am joined, as I mentioned at the top, with Chaz Franklin, the head of player development in Connecticut for the Connecticut Sun. The last time we had Chaz on the show was about 2-ish years ago. And at that time, he was in Chicago. So it's great to have you back on. A lot has changed with us, as you can see. New place, new views, right? New intro. A lot has changed with Chaz. A lot has changed in the WNBA. And we're going to talk about all of that stuff tonight. So we appreciate you for tapping in with us. Amongst those changes, though, there was a slew of new cities announced as expansion teams in the WNBA. And one of those cities was Philly, which has a special place in Chaz's heart. Let's go back to having that conversation about Philly the last time Chaz was on the show. I want to go back to the Philly thing for just a second, because again, as we're talking about women's basketball growing, expanding, obviously, this past couple months ago, we got the announcement that the WNBA in 2025 headed to Golden State. A lot of people after that preseason game, a lot of people want WNBA to head to Toronto. If there were a WNBA team in Philly, what would if you could decide the name for the WNBA team in Philly, what would you name that team?
Ooh, that's a great question. WNBA team in Philadelphia, the name. The Philadelphia Assassins.
Go straight to Killer Squad. Hitters only.
Hitters only. The WNBA will be headed to Philadelphia in 2030. Chaz, you think they'll take your advice? You think they're gonna call them the Assassins? You think they'll rock with that?
Well, that didn't age well. In the interest of public relations and the climate in the city of Philadelphia, I would say let's move away from Assassins. Let's go to something a little more safe, maybe a little more kid-friendly, viewer-friendly, something a little more warm and beloved. How about that? I don't know.
There's a lot of people talking about the Philadelphia Bells, man. I'm seeing that a lot. Would you rock with the Philadelphia Bells as a name for that team?
I love the name Philadelphia Bells, but that's also the name of a prominent AAU team.
Okay.
In the city of Philadelphia, so I think there'd be some sort of branding conflict from that standpoint. But I like the name the Philadelphia Bells, especially when you tie in, bells like, I guess, women, and
right,
bells like Liberty Bell. So right. I see what you did there. But I don't know that it worked from a business standpoint just because of the marketing conflict.
That's fair. Shout out Mike Hughes, who just commented. He texted me right as we went live. He wanted me to ask you what color Jared McCain is going to paint his nails this year.
Whatever color leads us to a championship, I'm fine with. I'm absolutely okay with whatever McCain does, as long as we can get some wins in the win column. It's all good with me. That's all I'm concerned about.
In all seriousness, though, I mean, just talking about the growth of the league, right? I mean, again, last time you were on the show, we talked about how what it would be like to have a team in Philly. They're going to have a team in Philly in a couple of years here. We also talked about your experience. You actually were a part of that first preseason game that was in Toronto when the Sky played that game. Now they have a team in Toronto that we're going to see next year in 2026. Just your thoughts on, I guess, overall, like the expansion of the WNBA and how much the game has grown so far, not just since the last time we've talked, but just since you've been involved in the WNBA. Like, just what are your thoughts on the expansion of the league so far?
Well, the city of Philadelphia is so excited about bringing professional women's basketball to Philly. I spent some time at Marquette University, and I can tell you this, from a recruiting standpoint, Philadelphia is one of the Philadelphia area, greater Philadelphia area, one of the top 5 recruiting beds in the nation for girls basketball. I mean, it's a thing, right? It's a big thing in the greater Philadelphia area. And I just understand already, being a native Philadelphia, Philly is going to go crazy over WNBA basketball, the physical nature of the game, the passion of the game, natural regional rivalries with New York and Connecticut and DC, coming right on down 95 South and Atlanta. I mean, it's going to essentially be the NFC East of the WNBA. So I'm really looking forward, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm thinking back to when we had you on last time. We were talking about just, not just the importance of having a team in the WNBA for Philly because the Sixers aren't doing all that well, but just like there's so much women's basketball royalty that hails from Philadelphia. Like the talent that you would get already in the league from Philly, the future talent, like you have to love it. I know that the city of Philadelphia is super duper excited for it. And just thinking again back to, like who would be coming out at that point? Like if you thinking of all the women who are in the league right now, even thinking of some of the players in college who, will be coming into the league over the next couple of years, if you could pick, let's say 1 to 2 players that you would love to see play for that Philadelphia WNBA team at some point, who are some names that come to mind that you think would just fit right in with that Philadelphia city WNBA team?
Well, I think the first thing we have to think about is identifying with the culture of the city. Not only the sports culture, but the zeitgeist of the town. That's a fancy word I once learned in college. That just means the aura of all that we're doing. So if you're going to compete in Philadelphia and for Philadelphia and represent Philadelphia, the first thing you got to have is this, right? You have to lead with your heart. Yep. I think no other player better exemplifies that than Kalia Copper. It's easy. It's a no-brainer. That was a layup for me. In another 5 years, talent-wise, athletic-wise, ability-wise, IQ-wise, we're not sure where she'll be in 5 years. The reality is her legacy is already cemented if she stopped today. But to see her come home, to wrap up her career, I know she loves it in Phoenix. But to see Kalia come home to Philadelphia, it'd be absolute mayhem. Talking from a collegiate perspective, prospects that I'm seeing right now, she's not a Philadelphia kid, but she's a greater Philadelphia, New Jersey, tri-state area kid. Hannah hell, Doc, are you serious? Right. She embodies the spirit of the city. Yep. She embodies the spirit. She's hyper competitive, highly skilled, phenomenal motor, marketable. The city will get behind her. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal athlete. She's my cousin-in-law.
I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
And I'll give you one more sleeper. I'll give you a sleeper. You ready for this one?
Wait on me.
Incoming freshman Shayla Smith, Penn State University, all-time leading scorer in the history of Philadelphia girls basketball. Okay. Orton Reed High School, I believe it's Universal Orton Reed High School. 3 public league championships, public league player of the year, multiple times. Score extraordinaire, quiet, but a quiet assassin, tough. North Philadelphia tough. Played her high school basketball in South Philadelphia. Cult-like following. Phenomenal player that I love to see play in our league.
Those are three players that I would love to see play in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia would love to see play in Philadelphia as well. One thing that we talked about the last time you were on the show, and we didn't really get a chance to unpack is what it takes to make an elite guard, right? And you've just named three players right now who are elite and have elite skill sets. Again, obviously, you're a player development coach. You've had the privilege of working with some elite guards. If you had to think about some of the key skills that every elite guard has to possess in order to be considered elite, what are some of those like non-negotiables must have? Like they must bring these skills to the table in order for you to consider them an elite guard.
I think the primary skill set that you need is an elite ability to play the pick and roll offense. High ball screens, mid picks, wing ball screens. It's something like 80% of plays in the WNBA end up in screen and roll. So if you can't play the pick and roll game, you're in trouble. It's the first thing. I think the next thing that a player needs is one elite skill, just one, right? Whether it's shooting, ball handling, defensively, but you have to have one skill that qualifies you to rank among the top 160 some odd players on the planet. So for me, I love it when they're elite ball handlers that can shoot intermediate jump shots. If you're talking about like a playmaking guard, just because we're going to play pick and roll a lot, and I need you to be able to, hit all your reads. Like how they talk about in football, a quarterback that can throw the entire route tree. So can you throw the pocket pass right? Okay,
Right.
fine. Can you throw the hook pass left when the weak side low man tags the roller and you have to kind of skip it over to the opposite corner? Here's an elite skill set. Can you throw the pocket pass going left with your left hand? Not many people can do that. And can you skip the ball to the other side of the floor on a string with your left-handed hook pass? I mean, these are very elite components of a skill set. I would say that not many players can do. Not even every player in the WNBA can do it now, but the elite, they have this. They have these skills in their bag. And so these are things that I like to see, that I scout, that I look for, that kind of separates players between good, great, and whatever's beyond great. Elite, top tier.
So on that note, when you think about the elite of the elite guards in the WNBA, who are some names that come to mind as the most elite guards in the WNBA right now?
Well, historically, I'm saying historically because they're veterans in the league. I really have a fondness for a Chelsea Gray. She's a maestro. She's the point guard. I mean, you know who she is, right? Her ability to facilitate and run the team. When we compete against the Aces, I'm watching her eyes dart across the floor. She's reading defenses. She's deciphering all of our play calls. She is elite at an elite level, whatever that means, right? The elite of the elite. Skylar Diggins and her aggression and her temperament always has been at an elite level. The ability to score from three levels, the ability to ignite her team with just a fire alone. And I'm going to double back again on a player that a lot of people are familiar with, but to me has always been underrated from a skill set perspective. It's Marina Mabrey. She's still trying to turn a corner. She's dealt with some injuries this season, but I've had the great pleasure of knowing Marina since Chicago, and I work with her every day. And I'm telling you, there are things that Marina Mabrey can do on a basketball court and with a basketball in her hands that you can't name maybe, I don't know, 5 other people in the league. There may be 5 people in the league that can do what Marina can do at certain times with a basketball. So, our trajectory and our path upwards is not necessarily a straight path, straight and zigzag and plateaus a little bit. But I just have the utmost confidence in her skill set and her competitive nature and her work ethic. And I see how hard she works every day, and she never takes a day off and a play off or a workout off. And she's totally invested, and she's got hard, and she can shoot, and she can score from 3 levels, and she's assertive, and she's a protector of her teammates, and She about that smoke and that action too. If you want to go there, she's a phenomenal post-up player. So, with this type of skill set, I just think the sky's the limit for her. She's been around a while, but the reality is she's 29 years old, right? So she still has a bit of a career left. So these are some of the players I feel like are super, super, super elite at that lead guard kind of ball handling position.
You talked about some of the vets, Chelsea Gray, Skylar Diggins, Marina Mabry. We got two young guns in the league. Caitlin Clark, number 1 overall pick last season. Paige Beckers, number 1 overall pick this season. Two players that I believe at some point in time will ascend to that level of eliteness and be one of the elite guards in the W, or two of the elite guards in the W when their time comes. But looking at where their game is right now, what are some of the skills that either of them possess? And we can start with Caitlin and go over to Paige, that you enjoy seeing the most out of them when you're talking about just what they're able to do in their own right on the floor.
Well, one of the big things that I enjoy about Caitlin Clark from a skill set perspective is how well she moves the ball in terms of outlet passes, in terms of lead passes, in terms of kick ahead passes. Her eyes are always up. She can throw it from the bounce 80 feet up the floor to a rim runner, to someone streaking up the sideline. She can throw it without a bounce because she's physically strong. And it's accurate, and that's the key, and that's the engine to their up-tempo offense. That's something that I always enjoyed in point guards and lead guards. It was something I tried to. I'm not as talented as a Caitlin Clark when I played, but it's how I wanted to play.
Yeah.
I just wasn't as gifted as her. In terms of Paige, her savvy at such a young age, but she's endured a lot of different situations that forced her to grow up while she was at UConn. She's got the greatest college coach in the history of the game as a coach and mentor, and she comes from a winning culture. So her maturity, her ability to play in an intermediate area and score for pin downs and ball screens and kind of take what the defense gives her is super elite. And one thing about Paige that I think people don't realize, having competed against Paige both when I was at Marquette and obviously here in the W, she's bigger, she's taller than what you think. She has a presence about her. Paige ain't 5'8". Paige is closer to 6 feet, a long 6 feet, kind of tall, kind of square across the shoulders, nice frame, wiry, strong. So she's going to have a nice, long, healthy, fruitful career, and I wish her the very best, except for when we play her, in which case I would wish her the very worst. But other than that, I hope she does well, and I wish her the very, very, very best.
Martin and I talked about a couple weeks ago, maybe it was a week ago. We were talking about like the Paige versus Caitlin conversation, right? It started about a month or so ago. Martin did an entire episode on the pod by himself where he just kind of unpacked Paige's game and kind of talked about whether or not Paige could end up being the best guard in the WNBA, right? And I said on that episode that we did more recently that I have always felt that Paige was better than Caitlin Clark, and I think some of that adversity that you mentioned, like the injuries that she suffered during her collegiate career, maybe kind of blurred the lines a little bit. And the one thing that Martin and I do agree on, right, is that it is kind of a preference thing because they're both good and really good at this point in their careers. But if you had to say, I know I asked you earlier, right, who was better between Asia and Nafisa, and you kind of said it was a 1A, 1B type situation. It seems like Paige and Caitlin is like the same thing. But if you had to say which player was better or which player you probably would prefer skill set wise, who would you give the edge to there? Would you say that's Caitlin Clark or would you say that's Paige Becker?
At this point in time, I would say it was Caitlin. So simply because of the ability to spread the ball around and move the ball at an elite level. Paige is a really talented passer and floor general as well. I think Caitlin led the league in assists last year, something like that as a rookie, which is, I don't know. I mean, you could fact check that. I don't know that that's ever been done.
It has not. No.
And Paige is a phenomenal athlete and must-see TV. But Caitlin has been electrifying. We just played the Indiana Fever in Boston, Connecticut Sun versus the Fever at TD Garden a week ago. There were 20,000 people there, and it's just something you have to experience. Really, when you're playing either one of them, but when Caitlin's in the building, it's a different energy. So we really look forward to competing against her for many years to come. I would give her the nod, but not by much. But as it stands today, the nod will go to Caitlin Clark, at least for me.
That's fair. If you're just now joining us, I am joined by Chaz Franklin, the head of player development for the Connecticut Sun. We're going to switch gears now, actually, and talk a little bit about the Connecticut Sun. But in order to do that, let's go back to a clip of Mike Hughes joining Martin and I on the show after this year's WNBA draft.
First of all, Chaz about to get a dog out of this one, man. Chaz is about to get to work. Player development, Connecticut Sun. Chaz Franklin doing his thing. Got to give him some love. But Anissa Morrow is going to be the best player to come out of this draft. And that's where I'm taking it. All right, Paige is a bucket. I love Paige. I love what she's done. But this is Southside Chicago. This is where the best basketball is played in this city. Coming out of Simeon, D. Rose gave her some love earlier today.
Simeon? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. D. Rose gave her some love. Obviously, she went to DePaul for a little bit before she entered the transfer portal. This is Chicago's own. And I believe in what she's going to be able to do, the capabilities that she has brought forth to the WNBA already going in as a rookie, I think gives her immediate all-rookie team. It's going to be exciting, man. I love Paige. Paige is a bucket getter. Paige is my favorite all-time women's college basketball player for that reason. Little short-lived just because of the injuries, but I know how good this class is. But Anissa Morrow is going to be the best player in this draft class.
Strong words from Mike Hughes about Anissa Morrow. You have a front row seat to Anissa Morrow, not just Anissa, but also Sanaya Rivers. But we'll start with Anissa for now. One of the things that Martin and I talked about a lot leading up to the draft as it relates to Anissa Morrow is because of her size, it almost seems like it's kind of hard to figure out what position would best suit her, right? Wherever she ended up landing. And you've had a chance, obviously, to work with her, seen her play, seen her grow and develop over these, the first half of the season or so. What are the skills that you would say Anissa Morrow possesses that could potentially help her live up to those strong words by Mike Hughes and be the best player out of this draft class?
Well, I think when you're speaking about Anissa, the first thing that stands out to basically everyone, is her size. And I would dare to say that she is an elite rebounder, both in her area and outside of her area today. I have never, in the history of my 44 years on earth, seen a player rebound the ball in traffic the way Anissa Morrow rebounds in traffic. And I mean, it doesn't matter who's there. I've seen it against Leah Rude, who's 6'8", right? I've seen it. I mean, you just see this crowd of players, and these two hands emerge from the crowd. And it's Anissa. She clapped that thing like that. So, elite rebounder. That's a skill that has translated one-to-one relationship immediately from LSU to the WNBA. The second thing that really stands out to me about Anissa Morrow that most people are probably unaware of, because she's such a tough-minded, hard-nosed, South Side of Chicago player, she has a really good understanding of the game of basketball. She's a high IQ basketball player. And sometimes people don't necessarily notice that or attach that quality to Anissa because she is so tough, because she is so ferocious in the paint, because she is so competitive. But one thing that I've noticed in talking to Anissa and breaking down film with Anissa and just trying to help her grow as she's playing and competing in the best league in the world, maybe the hardest professional league to crack on the planet because limited spots, right? Really, really bright kid with an even brighter future. And that's Anissa Morrow.
I will tell you, I was on this show maybe every day for a month straight, as much as I could, begging the Mystics to draft Anissa Morrow because I thought she would have been great. The rebounding, you make a great point about her rebounding. And I know she got a little bit of a late start to the season, but I've been impressed every time I've watched Connecticut and watched Anissa Morrow play basketball. She's been really, really impressive. She has been every bit as advertised, I would say, when you think about who she was at LSU versus where she is now. And then you pair that up with Sanaya Rivers, who is another young, electric guard that's now coming into the league. Looking at like Sanaya Rivers, like, again, same thing. Like, what are the things that stand out to you about Sanaya as far as like why the transition for her from NC State now to Connecticut has seemingly been, I don't want to say easy, but it seems like it's been pretty seamless, of a very seamless transition for her from NC State to Connecticut. What are some of those skills that you guys have been trying to get her to tap into a bit more when she's out there on the floor?
Well, we drafted Sanaya with the understanding analytically that she was in the top 1% of athletes in the country in the NCAA. And that when we did all of her force plate testing and all of her measurables, she's in the top 1% of athletes in the WNBA too, right? So we're talking about a unique blend of speed and quickness, because those are two different things. Lateral quickness and length. I mean, that's a heck of a combination right there, right? I'm fast, I'm quick, I'm long, and she's explosive. You know, Sanaya can flush the ball, right? Sanaya can pretty much dunk. Um, elite defender from day one. Elite, elite defender from day one. What makes Sanaya special as an on-ball defender, she's a risk taker. I mean, she clean up in Vegas or Atlantic City. She gambles a lot, but boy, did she come up with it a lot, right? So some of these habits you don't, you wanted to continue to remain aggressive as an on-ball defender, and you wanted to reach. You don't really want her to reach because you don't want her to foul, but it's kind of hard to argue. I mean, Sanaya will pick your pocket, and I've seen her do it to some elite guard. I don't want to name them, right? Go back through the footage, but man. So, but Sanaya, and you want to talk about character and resilience and who she is as a human being. Sanaya Rivers is absolutely electrifying. She's another player I've had the opportunity, the younger players on our roster to spend a considerable amount of time with. And I'm telling you, players like Sanaya and players like Elisa, and let us not forget, our other rookie, Rhea Marshall. She hasn't gotten a lot of minutes thus far, right? But it's a tough league to crack into, right? We got the great Tina Charles playing down there, right? I mean, it's hard to get minutes. That's 8,000 points. There's only been one person in the history of the planet Earth and Jupiter and Mars, too, any planet you want to name, to score more points than Tina Charles. So playing in front of Tina Charles or getting minutes behind Tina, good luck. But Sanaya has a chance, right? But Rhea has a chance to be mentored. She's working hard every day at practice. And she's another phenomenal athlete. And she's such a great spirited kid, long and quick and athletic. And she can score from 15 feet and in. And so, she's a joy to have. So our three rookies have been nothing but a joy for me. And I look forward to working with them and helping them develop. And, as we continue to move forward.
Before we switch over to Marina, because I do want to get your thoughts on her as well. Tina, you mentioned Tina Charles, and Martin and I were talking this morning. Tina Charles is the oldest or the second oldest player in the league right now, and she is playing. I don't want to say some of the best basketball of her career, because obviously she's had a very long career and she's not in her prime anymore. But she's playing really, really, really good basketball. Can we just take a second to give Tina her flowers a bit? And talk about just how good she's been so far this year. What are some of those things that has kind of stands out to you as far as how she's been able to be so impactful for you guys this season?
I think the thing, I've always been a Tina Charles fan, but it's different when you see it up close. Tina Charles's ability to create space on the block from the face-up position and score under duress is as potent as any player that I've ever seen, man or a woman. Tina Charles can score that ball, right? And Tina Charles probably has more years behind her than she does in front of her at this point. But she's an absolute legend, Hall of Famer. Her basketball IQ, she's still got that New York City toughness kind of swagger thing going on. Right hand jump hook, left hand jump hook, good shooting until about 18 feet, can step out and hit the three. Phenomenal competitor, absolute warrior, tough. Plays with a lot of heart. So I'm a huge Tina Charles fan. I'm blessed. I consider myself blessed to be on the staff working with Tina. She's going to be a Hall of Famer. She's got 3 gold medals, right? So I consider myself blessed in the regard of having the opportunity to spend every day with a living legend. It means a lot to me.
I mean, yeah, Tina has been like I said, she's been spectacular this season, and you wouldn't even think that the way she's playing, you wouldn't even think that she's the oldest or the second oldest player in the league, which is how great she's been playing so far this year in Connecticut. I do want to talk about Marina Mabry, because I know that you talked very highly about Marina Mabry the last time you were on the show. In fact, let's play that clip of you talking a little bit about Marina Mabry the last time you were on the show with us.
I'm excited for Dana Evans. Right. I'm excited for Marina Mabry. Right. These are people that, I've spent a considerable amount of time around. These are two players just off the top of my head that I feel like I know how good they are. I know how talented they are. Right. And the and just sports leagues in general, it's all about opportunity. Right.
A little bit after that, you talked about how you thought that Marina Mabry would have a breakout season last season, and she played really well in Chicago. She played well as well when she got traded over to Connecticut. She has missed a couple games this season due to injury, as you alluded to. I will tell you, when I saw the picture of you and Marina and Anissa and Sanaya after the draft, that picture you guys took together, I couldn't help but smile, because you talked so fondly about Marina Mabry, and you've even done so a little bit tonight as well. Not to kind of beat a dead horse, because you have already talked about just how underrated she is and how skilled she is as a basketball player, but you talk about opportunity and being in a situation now in Connecticut where she is one of the vets. She's one of the older players on a roster, on a team that's kind of trying to figuring it out a bit. Just can you talk a bit about how impactful she's been this season, both on and off the floor, not just for Anissa and Sanaya and Rhea, but just for the team, overall, and what it's like to just be back in the same building with her, working with her on a daily basis?
Well, I think the first thing is that, Marina is an extremely passionate leader. She does a really good job of holding the team to a standard. She has very lofty expectations for both herself and this team, this organization. And so every day, she does a really phenomenal job of holding everyone accountable for living up to the standard. She's always a joy to work with. Marina is the type of player that you have to kindly ask to leave the gym, because at some point it becomes counterproductive, the work she wants to do. Even during her rehab, we're warming up in, I don't know, I think it was Boston, wherever we were, somewhere. And Marina is going full blast workout, 35 minutes, sprinting the half court, sprinting to the three-point line. She's getting beat up by our other player development coach, Box Sal, and he's beating her up, and he's built like a football player. And she's fighting him in the post. She's stepping back, and she's screaming and cussing. She's all the way invested, and I love that about her. So she's a complete joy to work with. Knowing the whole entire Mabry family, they're one of the legendary basketball families in the state of New Jersey. I consider myself blessed every single day to have met Marina Mabry. But what I also know is that things happen in God's time. I've come to realize that at 44 years old. And so I'm still a firm believer in Marina Mabry. And as this team continues to develop and grow, this is her first year taking on a leadership role. And leading's not easy. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. But now she's been tasked. You see, it's one thing when you're a talented player or a talented individual, you can get up the mountain yourself. You can, right? You're talented. Marina Mabry was a McDonald's All-American. I believe she was MVP of the McDonald's All-American game. So she can play. She's a national champion in Notre Dame. She can play. She can hoop. That's without question. And now the next step in her development is, okay, you can get up the mountain yourself, but how many people can you throw across your shoulder and drag them on up the mountain with you? That you don't got to do but so much dragging, because some of these young players, they can go, right? But Marina and Tina, they are tasked with leadership, and leadership is not easy. So heavy is the head that wears the crown, but both of them are two strong women that are more than capable of doing so for this franchise. So I'm proud of them both.
I do want to switch gears to the other player you talked about in that clip. You talked about Dana Evans, and it's just lovely how we're having you on the show the night after Dana Evans has a really good game for my Las Vegas Aces last night. She was, as you mentioned in that episode that we had you on, she was one of the best bench players, one of the best reserves coming off the bench leading into that season. She's been one of the best reserves so far this season in Vegas. thinking about Dana Evans' skill set, who you have always told me is one of, again, another very underrated player. Can you just talk about how impressed you've been, or just how impactful she's been in Vegas with how her skills have been able to fit into what it is that they're trying to do out there in Vegas as well?
Well, we played Vegas here at home maybe a few weeks ago, and I got to talk to Dana after the game for about 20 minutes and just telling her how proud of her I was, seeing it up close, watching her processing of the game. I think that's the next step that she took, playing under Becky Hammond. She's reading the game in a different way as a point guard. She's been able to score the ball since high school. She was a big time scorer in Louisville, right? But reading the pick and roll, like reading defenses, understanding where the tag is coming from, passing out of traps and blitzes and hedges, and understanding the balance of when to attack and when to drive and pitch, and understanding the one more pass. And, these are things that were areas of growth for Dana in 2023. But to see her take the next step just makes me really proud as someone that coached Dana and worked with Dana on a daily basis. And I told her that, and just to see her confidence just blossom, and for her to be in such a great situation, learning under a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, come on, man. Right? I couldn't be more happy for Dana.
Dana, I was, you should have seen me last night watching that game. I was thrilled every second of that game watching Dana. I mean, this is exactly why the Aces went out there and they went and they got her in the offseason. It's for moments like last night. And she has been playing really, really well in her role. I think she should be a candidate for Sixth Player of the Year. I don't know if she's leading that race, but she's definitely in that conversation this season in Vegas. I have two more questions for you, and then I'll let you get out of here because I know you guys have a game tomorrow night. My first question is this, right? There's been an increased talk about physicality in the WNBA over these past couple seasons, not just with incidences having happened between players on the floor, but also just players speaking out about the way that the game has been officiated, right? And it seems as almost if there's a group of people out here who think that the WNBA is just now getting to this level of physicality. There's other people, though, who have known that the WNBA has been physical for such a long time. Can you just, and I hope I don't get you in trouble by asking this question, but can you just throw your 2 cents out there and just talk a little bit about how, like, the physicality of the WNBA and what we've been seeing over these last couple of years with how it seems like more physical it's gotten, or maybe it's been put on a broader scale or whatever.
Well, I think if you look back through the history of the WNBA, it has always been uber physical, super competitive. I mean, I watched the first WNBA game with the New York Liberty and the Los Angeles Sparks. I mean, they were going to war then. Go check Candace Parker's rookie season and some of the scuffles she got into. And I mean, the WNBA has always been physical, will probably always be physical. And as it stands today, is a physical women's basketball league, women only, grown women only. You don't come out of high school, respect to the NBA, but you don't come out of high school and play this league, right? These are legitimately the top 150, 160 players on the planet, and they're coming from the 4 corners of the earth. A lot of them, even dating back to the older days or the beginning stages of the WNBA, somebody like Cynthia Cooper, right? Right, the great Hall of Famer Cynthia Cooper. People had forgot about who Cynthia Cooper was after she left USC, but she's over in Italy putting in work with that physicality and scoring with 2 and 3 people hanging off for you. And, we call them take fouls here in America. They don't have that overseas when you're an import, right? So it's like, it's like playing football at times. They bring that same level of physicality here to the WNBA, these old, wily veterans, these hungry, young 24 and 25-year-olds that, they don't want to play in Russia anymore. They want to be here, right? So every single night is a fight for it all. I truly can appreciate it as a Philadelphian. I don't mind it. Our players, as you know, we don't mind it. We enjoy a nice, good, hard, physical basketball game. Nothing dirty. We don't want to cross the line, right? But it's okay to play a little rough and with some passion and some spiciness. And I think that the fans enjoy it as well. I feel sorry for the officials. They got a tough job.
Being an official is one of the toughest jobs on the planet. I know this because my dad has been an official all my life, and I have heard the things that people say to him when they think he doesn't get a call right. So I can only imagine how much worse it is at this level. Before you go, we are entering the second half of the WNBA season. As I mentioned, you guys do have a game tomorrow night, so I do want to get you out of here. But over the weekend, there was a massive signing. The New York Liberty are acquiring Emma Meeseman, 2019 Finals MVP. She has, I don't know if legend is too lofty of a word, but I'll say she's a legend of the game in my opinion. One of my favorite players I've ever been able to watch. Do you think? I mean, Jonquel Jones is back. They got this really talented team. Do you think the Liberty are going to go back to back this season, or do you think there's another team out here in the W who can knock them off and prevent them from winning the chip this year?
Well, they have a formidable roster. They're the defending champions. And I'm always a believer that you are indeed the champ until somebody makes you not the champ anymore, right? So somebody's got to beat them. That signing of Emma, that's a big signing. However, the Minnesota Lynx, this is one of those fundamental questions, right? Like the chicken and the egg, that kind of thing. I think the Liberty have the most probably talented roster in the league, especially with the signing of Emma. But the Minnesota Lynx, I mean, they team basketball you to death. Right? Then you got Cheryl Reeves over there and her Hall of Fame self coaching them up. And then you got the new stud buds. You got Courtney Williams, right? And you got Letitia over there, and they rocking and rolling. And then you got Kylie, and they put a bunch of shooters around them. Atlanta Smith, who I had in Chicago. I mean, and it's a tough place to play. The crowd is really engaged, well-versed. Minnesota's a big sports town. So I think those two are probably the front runners right now. I don't know who will win. I'm going to go out on the limb and say the Connecticut Sun are going to win it all. We're not mathematical. We're going to win. I'm always picking myself.
There's always a chance. There's always a chance.
I don't look at nobody else. Right. So if we don't win it, maybe one of them will win it or something. I don't know. Right. But right now I'm betting on us. I'm always betting on, myself and the people that I've been blessed to be attached to and to work with every single day. But I look forward to an exciting second half of the season. We had some great games last night around the league, and I checked them out. It was great. It was great. So it's going to be a really, really, really exciting second half of the season for sure.
The second half of the season is going to be exciting, and Martin and I are going to be here every step of the way talking about all of it. I appreciate you, Chaz, my guy, as always, for taking the time out of your schedule to come chop it up with us. I wish you guys nothing but luck tomorrow night in your game against the Sparks, first game back from the All-Star break. If you are not already, make sure that you are following Protect Our Queens on Instagram and Threads at @ProtectOurQueens_ on both platforms. Also, please subscribe to Basketball Society on YouTube so you don't miss any future episodes of Protect Our Queens. Who knows? In another year or so, Chaz might be back on the show, and this time after winning a championship. And we'll do this all over again for another 45 minutes. So please make sure that you're tapped in with us. It's always a pleasure to have my guy Chaz on the show. And it's always a pleasure to talk women's basketball, no matter who is opposite the camera with me. So for my guy Martin Soares, who is not here physically but here with me in spirit, this is Marcus of Protect Our Queens signing off. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, you enjoy yourselves some women's basketball.